Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Adrian's Weather Forecast. And in this video, we're going to be doing another forecast with the upcoming snowstorm, which is going to bring in possibly over a foot to nearly 2 feet of snow across the upper Midwest and northern plains. Already, windstorm watches, warning, and advisories have been issued for much of the upper north central United States ahead of the storm, as it's going to start brewing over into the overnight hours. And by tomorrow, when we wake up, we're going to be seeing a lot of snow, and it's as well going to be extremely frigid across the upper north plains. And of course, eventually going to be watching out for some more snow later on to the weekend. But without further ado, let's get into the forecast. So as of now, we do have our first widespread winter weather advisory that does not include the actual Rockies or Sierra. So we're starting to make progress, but it's already December 3rd. So the fact that this is kind of our first widespread area, yet it's not including big cities, is definitely says a lot about how boring this winter's been. So windstorm watches is included across portions of north central and far northwestern Wisconsin, north central Minnesota, and portions of northeastern and north central North Dakota. That's going to be the main area to watch out for, because since this will be front-sided, a lot of it's going to stay towards the Canadian border. And you know, it's really going to be significant when you have winter storm warnings for northeastern Montana. They rarely really hand out winter storm warnings, so the fact that we have a warning is definitely saying a lot about how much snow we're going to see. And don't forget, we're going to be seeing very kind of, I say, fluffy and dry snow because of how wet or how dry yet cold the atmosphere is going to be. So it should be a little bit more easier to handle, but still going to be seeing a ton of snow. But warnings across the northeast portion of Montana in those pink counties, and then winter weather advisories from portions of Washington all across the far northern county of Idaho, and of course riding the Canadian border in the far northern counties of Montana. So you can kind of tell it is riding the overall areas near the Canadian border, so it's going to stay pretty isolated across the far northern United States. So I want to go into a brief pattern and looking at the overall reasoning for this unexpected large snowstorm. Really, since we've been seeing a rather warm week, it's been in the 70s and even 60s across Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. So why all of a sudden are we going to be seeing a monster clipper, and as well highs not getting out of the single digits? Well, because right now we're seeing some pretty strong zonal flow, and as well higher pressure across the United States. So we're going to be seeing a lot of ridging and warm weather, but that's all going to change by later tonight into the overnight hours, as we're now going to be seeing a weakening polar vortex, which is going to bring in a strong Arctic blast dipping in with this area of low pressure and this really strong trough, and it's going to dip right into the northern United States, Montana, and North Dakota by the practically later this weekend here. So this coldest air is not going to arrive till after this snowstorm. So if we look at kind of it developing later tonight, it's going to be slightly above average across these areas tonight, including Montana and the Dakotas. However, their average is very cold enough, so we're still going to stay below freezing. That's why we're still seeing some snow and above average temperatures. But as we continue on now by Sunday early morning, so practically kind of towards midnight, there you're going to start seeing this really cold air start to make its way towards the far northern United States. So it is still going to be, like I said, it's going to be front-sided. All this cold air is going to stay north of that low pressure. So it's kind of all staying towards the far northern United States. And also because we're going to be seeing some really strong ridging in the East Coast and Middle Atlantic, so it's going to prevent it from going anywhere towards the northeast. So it's going to stay as a clipper, and it's going to bring in some really strong steepening areas of lower pressure, and it's going to bring in some really strong deep cold air. So we're finally going to be seeing weakening this polar vortex line for Arctic blast to finally kind of emerge into the United States, and it's going to bring a really strong dip in the jet stream here, really strong and amped up jet stream across the northern United States. It's going to bring in some really strong ridging on both sides of this trough, and then of course that really deep cold air as we go towards Monday early morning. So it's going to definitely bring in really extremely hurtful cold air. I mean, like I said, we may not get highs out of single digits in some areas, and it's just going to bring, look how deep that cold air gets to the United States. I mean, this is the heart of that polar vortex, and you kind of see how wobbly it gets and how weak it gets. So it's going to bring in some really cold air all across these areas. I mean, it's going to go from very warm earlier this week to now possibly, like, we're talking not record-breaking temperatures, but it's going to get extremely dangerously cold. I mean, it's going to be dangerously cold temperatures, and I'm going to show you the overall forecasted temperatures a little bit later into the video. But here's the overall look at what we're seeing currently right now. Look how warm it is right now all across the United States, and you can kind of tell it's above average in these areas that we're forecasting for the next few hours. to kind of be the beginning of the snowstorm. But notice it's going to be above average practically for the next 18 hours across that area. Going to be seeing some higher pressure, but obviously the averages in these areas for the overnight hours are obviously cold enough. And as we go towards eventually tomorrow midday, then we're going to start seeing this cold front start to be felt. But kind of look at this. I mean, just south of that snow, we're going to be seeing 40 degrees, nearly 40 degrees above average. And then just to the north, we're going to be seeing this heart of this Arctic air bringing in around 40 degrees below average. As we continue on now by, it's going to be now basically Sunday night. You can kind of tell this cold front, this trough is going to start making its way into the United States. That deep, deep cold air advection is going to make its way in towards the northern United States, and it's going to kind of push this ridge out of the way and push it now to the East Coast. So we're going to be seeing some pretty stubborn ridging off the East Coast, bringing in a really warm weather across I-95 and much of the eastern United States for practically the remaining of this week and for much of next week. But it's going to be completely the opposite by Monday or Sunday. Going to bring in some really, really deep cold air all across the northern United States. Going to bring in around 20 to 25 degrees below average. It's going to continue to really invade the upper Great Lakes and as well over out north central. But obviously the northeast is going to miss out because this storm's not going to really move out till practically Monday afternoon. But by Monday afternoon, we're still seeing that really, really warm temperatures across the East Coast because of that very strong ridge not moving off, because of that strong troughing off Greenland is not going to allow this ridge to push eastward. So here's the overall cold front itself, and so everything basically in the northeast is practically just going to be rain because of how warm it's going to be. Let's now look at the overall real-time temperatures for the next few hours on the NAM. So here are the current temperatures right now. Like I said, although it's above average, it's still going to be below freezing. So still seeing below freezing temperatures all across the upper north central, even seeing some teens across portions of northern North Dakota. So definitely going to be seeing some really fluffy and dry snow. They're going to be seeing around a 15-to-1 ratio, which is typically what you see in a clipper. So they're going to be seeing some really dry snow because of how cold it's going to be. There's a point where it gets too cold. So the further you get away from freezing, the drier likely the snow is going to be. But look how warm it is just to the south. Seeing 60s to even near 70s, just 2 states down. And then we're seeing teens in the Canadian border. So really big difference, but still going to be a really favorable environment. As we go in the overnight hours, the temperatures are going to drop as we go now in towards the teens. In some cases, we're going to be seeing some single digits, maybe 8 degrees across far northern North Dakota. It is just in general, all you got to know is it's going to get cold. And look how much it drops in Kansas. It's going to get below freezing. That's because obviously we're going to start to feel this cold front get closer, going from 67 to basically below freezing very quickly. And look at the overall highs. The highs, this is going to be, let's see, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We're not going to get out of the teens for highs in some areas. I mean, it's going to be extremely painfully cold. So the Midwest is definitely going to be pretty favorable. And look how we go towards now Sunday morning. Look at these temperatures. Negative digits, going to be seeing around possibly negative 19 degrees. And then as we go now towards the overall highs, the highs may not even get above zero in some cases. Going to be seeing negative 30 across Wyoming. Going to be seeing widespread negative 10 to negative 15. It is going to be extremely cold. Look at the difference between basically what we saw earlier last week, where we saw 60s and 70s, to now seeing negative digits, negative 21, negative 31 across a higher elevation that was Wyoming. I mean, look how cold the whole this whole map is going to be extremely frigid. And that's because this massive Arctic blast and polar vortex is weakening and dipping straight into the United States. You can kind of tell by the 500 millibar high. There it is, practically just a massive, extremely strong trough moving in. Practically the main trough, the main cold air advection, and the main deep cold air is going to be moving in by Sunday morning. But obviously this front, this low pressure is going to be developing practically in the overnight hours and last throughout much of tomorrow into Sunday early morning. So this deepest cold air is going to just miss this front itself. So you're going to be seeing a dramatic difference between the areas east of this cold front and areas west of the cold front. So this system's not going to really initiate. So I'd say the next 9 hours we're still going to start seeing some really heavy snow start to develop eventually across portions of Montana. Going to be seeing some moisture developing along this area of low pressure. And it's going to kind of stay pretty stationary until we go into the and so if we look at the morning hours tomorrow, we're going to be seeing snow stretching from the Dakotas all the way to Montana. It's, like I said, it's going to be very light, fluffy snow because how dry and cold it is. It's going to be so cold that it's just going to be really not not going to have too much moisture going on. So typically, what we see like with a pattern like this is as you go higher in the atmosphere to the lower stratosphere and kind of a sounding, you're going to be seeing actually going to be reading practically the temperatures getting extremely cold dramatically at a dramatic rate. To the point where it's too cold, and then it's going to allow for extremely lack of moisture. But as we go later on now into the next 24 hours or so, it's going to start becoming a lot more moisture. We're going to be seeing a lot more moisture at this point, but still going to be seeing some very heavy snow across North Dakota, Montana. Eventually, it's going to make its way towards Minnesota, but definitely not going to be a good day to travel tomorrow afternoon. And eventually, it's going to make its way towards the upper Midwest, if I can get that, the upper Midwest. By the time we get towards, I say Sunday early morning, so it's going to start making its way towards Duluth and as well towards upper central Wisconsin. And as we go now towards the Sunday afternoon, a lot of this, like I said, is going to stay basically to the north of the United States, could still include the Upper Peninsula, but definitely going to miss out a lot for like areas like Milwaukee. Going to definitely miss out. The most of the snow is going to stay mainly for southern Ontario. But obviously, it's still going to get some good snow across the Upper Peninsula, upstate Wisconsin, and upstate Minnesota because since this cold front is going to be so far behind, areas basically pretty far north, it's going to be a really strong front-sided system because it is a fast-moving clipper. So the reasoning why clippers are typically always front-sided like this, like we're seeing right now, is practically because of how fast the fronts are, that the cold air never catches up. So that's why we're going to be seeing a lot of rain to the east towards that warm conveyor belt. Here's a quick look at the latest 18Z. So obviously initiating later tonight, there's that low pressure, and then we go towards the next, towards early Sunday morning, dramatically makes its way towards the upper Great Lakes. Very, very wet, compact snow. And as we go now towards Sunday night, this low pressure is going to stay toward the Upper Peninsula, allowing for some overall heavy snow towards upstate Wisconsin, upstate Michigan, upstate Minnesota, and then of course going to be seeing a lot of rain to the east of that cold front, pretty cold, chilly rain. And of course, it's going to stay towards Ontario and then Quebec, and the Northeast is going to really miss out. Even not going to be seeing too much lake effect snow either. And then last but not least, model-wise, look at the overall CMC. I'd say they pretty much uptrended, going to be seeing some really widespread snow Sunday morning all across North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, including Bismarck, Detroit Lakes, and eventually Eau Claire. And then by Sunday afternoon, it really amps up to extremely heavy snow across Green Bay, Wisconsin Dells, Traverse City, upstate Peninsula, the Upper Peninsula from Michigan. And like I said, the CMC is definitely still tracking it really far south. That low pressure is all the way towards Missouri and the Iowa border. So we could get some snow for the Twin Cities. We could get some snow for lower Wisconsin and central Michigan. So if the CMC were to verify, we'd be seeing some snow a lot further southward, including maybe even Milwaukee, some snow showers, Madison, even as well towards far southern Detroit, or far southern Wisconsin, or far southern Michigan. And then of course, once this low pressure goes far off to the north, we could see some additional lake effect snow for Monday and Tuesday, but won't be too much. Here's the overall accumulation. So gonna be seeing the main amount of snow, like I said, basically near the Canadian border, or at least in the far northern part of the state. You can kind of see by example, just look at this, all this snow, main snow staying pretty far north in the very rural areas. Could get anywhere from, generally going to be seeing anywhere from 3 to 6 inches, but could see some spots of over 6 plus, specifically towards the further north you are, the closer you are to Canada, the better the chance you're going to be seeing of getting nearly a foot. And of course, going to be seeing some spots across Montana and Wyoming, since it's going to be so cold anymore. It's just going to be just snow. So we could get some spots of over nearly 3 feet of snow across Wyoming, even though they're not in the main hearth of this. And then we look at the upper Midwest. Obviously, the main area to watch out is going to be far northern Minnesota, far northern Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan. I mean, look at this, getting areas of over 17 inches in far northeastern Minnesota, but overall, northern Minnesota is getting a ton of snow, according to the NAM, getting over 10 inches across a lot of areas. And notice how Twin Cities, the most urban areas, are going to be missing out a lot, according towards the NAM. If we look at the overall latest GFS 18Z, they also kind of have very similar, the heavy snow staying right towards the far northern United States. Going to be including the Upper Peninsula, far northern Wisconsin, far northern Minnesota, and far northern North Dakota. Could get over around 6 inches. And then notice how the urban areas are going to be missing out a ton of this. I think if any urban area has the best chance of snow, it's going to be the Twin Cities. And of course, I guess you could consider Green Bay urban, and then as well Traverse City. But really good snow for Marquette, very good snow for Eau Claire, Duluth, Minnesota, International Falls, Grand Forks up there. Possibly even some decent snow for Bismarck, maybe nearly just under half a foot. And then the CMC is tracking a lot further southward because of that low pressure track, so it is going to involve a lot more of Wisconsin as well, including the urban areas a lot more. So notice how the urban areas are now included a lot more than the GFS. Definitely a pretty big difference, getting the Twin Cities at around 3 inches, getting Madison at a trace, Chicago at a trace, Milwaukee at a trace, Kalamazoo at around 3 inches, Muskegon at around 5 inches, and still including a ton of snow across the upper Midwest. I mean, a ton of snow. If we actually look at the overall specific region, you can see we're going to be seeing a ton of snow, 12 to probably 20-ish, maybe in some cases nearly just under 2 feet of snow. But getting, like I said, 3 to 5 inches for the Twin Cities, according to the CMC, because of that further south track. But the main snow is still going to be staying in the far rural areas in the upper peninsula, the upper Minnesota and upper Wisconsin. But look at the difference between some portions of northern Minnesota. Going to get from 17 inches, and then look at the lower half, may not even get anything. And then same thing with Wisconsin and Minnesota. If you compare the northern states, the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state, really, really big difference. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.